Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man. I know how it feels to be undefeated, because I've asked you that before. But how does it feel to be 5-0, take over a rival SEC stadium, and headed into this third Saturday in October undefeated?
Oh man, you just can't put words on it. You know, I mean, it is what it is. We are the greatest. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going that far. We got Alabama this week, but brother, it feels pretty damn good. I ain't gonna lie. You keep waiting for the. I don't know about you, brother, but as a Tennessee Volunteer fan, I keep waiting for the bottom to fall out. Like, they're going to figure out it's imposter syndrome when we get in the top 10. It's like, it's just a matter of time before people figure out we're not supposed to be here. But, no, it is a great feeling. And now, I'll tell you this, Mike, my wallet has suffered. I think I went 1 for 6. I was 1 and 6 this week in gambling. Not a good look. A lot of those folks took my money there on wager this weekend. Was not a good idea. But if that's the price I've got to pay to be undefeated and remain undefeated, I'm in there, Mike. Hey, let's just keep doing this show over and over, Mike. You know, I'm okay with that. We didn't lose. So
little peel back behind the curtain for the audience. When Tennessee loses, it is impossible to get this man on the line. You know, you'd be amazed how often he's sick, or the boss kept him at work long, or whatever. He got a flat tire on the way
I had
home.
COVID before COVID. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But now that Tennessee's undefeated heading into this big game, Cousin Shane hits me up about 5 hours early. He's like, we got to get in here, talk about some SEC football. So he's fired up. I'm fired up. We'll get to that Tennessee game in just a minute, Shane. But let's start with, what actually did turn out to be the best game of the weekend. Alabama beats Texas A&M 24-20. Came down to literally the last play.
Close.
Man, what a ball game, Shane. I mean, if Jimbo could coach like this against the rest of the SEC, A&M would be a playoff contender. You know what? I mean,
Mike, I tell you, I came away from this game thinking that Texas A&M grew up a little bit. We've been talking about the youth. We've been talking about the frustration of that youth. And it felt like some of these kids took the step forward and said, hey, we're ready to play some grown-up football. I thought, Haynes King didn't play a flawless game, but when he was needed, he performed. That Stewart kid is just unbelievable. Golly. That kid's going to be in the NFL one day. So I just, all around, and we're going to get into it, especially on the defense side, this was just a fantastic ball game. You kept wondering when Alabama's going to, like every time there was a turnover or a penalty, like, okay, here goes Bama now. You just kept waiting for that moment. Next thing you know, we're still within a touchdown, and it comes down to a final play of the game. It was a fantastic game. If you're an Alabama fan, you're fantastic finish. But Texas A&M, I know you're a little upset, but you just hung with one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team.
Right. Jimbo's best win of the season, Shane, a 4-point loss at Alabama.
Yeah.
I had to get one more jab in there. I'm sorry. But
I know.
Thoughts on that final play, though? I mean, there's so much to break down in this ball game. You should have had 6 seconds. Go back and watch it. There was a penalty on Alabama with 6 seconds. Mysteriously, 3 seconds came off the clock. But, Johnny Manziel at postgame ripping it. Everybody and their mother's ripping it. Jimbo's got a damn Cheesecake Factory menu there as a play sheet. Yet that's what they dialed up. I mean, it was ugly. I would have liked to seen It's very, very easy, Shane, to be critical after a play didn't work. But two things I would have loved to seen. Get Haynes King on the run. He's so dynamic. That really stresses a defense, particularly close to the goal line. Or simply just give the ball to A-Chain. He's your best damn player. He barely touched the ball in this game. 16 carries, 62 yards. Are you walking away from this game saying what if with that play call, or were you happy with it?
I mean, it's hard not to, and it's funny you mentioned that, Mike, because I went to bed last night thinking that Texas A&M blew this one, and I could not believe they didn't throw it in the end zone on the final play.
Yeah.
That's my thought process. I get up this morning and I watch that play about 10 times, and if you slow it down per frame, that was the perfect play. I know it sounds crazy, but if you slow it down, this is designed to go exactly there. There was no progression. There was no, like, he knew exactly who he was going to throw it to. The problem that Haynes ran into is he threw it too late, and he threw it too far back. If you watch it in slow motion, as soon as that receiver turned around, that ball needs to be coming. Mm-hmm. It needs to be coming right at him. And if he does NFL throw, if you swap that quarterback, and nothing against Haynes, I know he's still growing and he's young, but if you swap that with Bryce, a healthy Bryce over there, that's a freaking touchdown, because it would have been right there. We're talking seconds, we're inches. I mean, it had to be a perfect throw, and unfortunately, too amped up at the end of the game, he held on to it too long.
Yeah, and again, the best game we've ever seen Haynes King play, I think that's fair to say, but man, there were some tough moments. Right before halftime, a bad interception that led to 3 points for Alabama and a field goal. And there was the Moose Muhammad play where he totally smoked the Alabama defensive backs, wide open, overthrown, but he still made the catch, but he had to dive for it, hit the ground. He should have walked into the end zone for 7. I mean, that they did get a field goal out of that possession, but right there's a 7-point swing with 2 mistakes, 2 bad throws, and that's the difference when you're on the road at Alabama. Mm-hmm. You just can't make these mistakes. Alabama, Shane, had 3 turnovers in the first half. Last time they did that, 2015 Ole Miss, and that was back when they had Derrick Henry. They lost that football game, so it's very, very hard to overcome so many turnovers, yet Alabama found a way. They had 4 turnovers in the ball game. You gotta love your chances when you got Alabama turned the ball 4 times, but that's just the machine the Crimson Tide are, Shay. They just don't die. They're like the Terminator. You got to put them away. Otherwise, they keep coming back for more. Jalen Milroe, 12 of 19, 111 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but a couple of costly fumbles. Jahmyr Gibbs he's taking his game to another level, Shane. 21 rushes, 154 yards. But how about A&M in the red zone, Shane? 4 of 5 for 20 points. Of course, we know the one time they came up short was at the end of the game. They really outworked Alabama down there. Alabama 1 of 3 in the red zone for just 7 points. And I say all that to say this, Shane. If Jalen Milroe, I may be getting ahead of myself here, but if he's the quarterback for Alabama next week, Tennessee is knocking off Alabama. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, I love that thought, Mike. I mean, but that's the hot take online right now. They see a Texas A&M program that has not been playing well come, a second away from upsetting Alabama. I mean, if you're a non-SEC lover, like if you're not really you're following, but you're not following, the 2 games when you think of Alabama is Texas and now this Texas A&M game, both of which came down to the final wire, and that's not usual, especially when you're expected to dominate a program. There's a reason that Texas was played so early, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit of that rat poison that Nick Saban talks about. It took 4 turnovers, brother. It took 4 turnovers and a couple of good, breaks going their way. I just talked about Stewart. I mean, that pass he made there to tail end, literally went through 2 Alabama hands. I mean, we're talking a second earlier. Yeah. It could have been something different. So I just think Texas A&M grew up this week, man. I don't think this is the same team that we saw week 1. I think if that team played Alabama today, they would lose by 4 scores. I just think that they grew up and they played. It wasn't flawless. They still got a lot of work to do on that side. But this defense and offense, if they can get it pulled together, man, they could beat anybody. But I think Alabama banged up, thought they could just come in here and run away with this thing, and they got themselves in a little cat fight there.
Right, and to your point, one thing we barely even mentioned, Shane, these defenses, outstanding for the most part.
Yeah.
Alabama held a 5 of 14 on third down. A&M was held 5 of 17 on third down, and that is a credit to both of these units. I mean, the first quarter of this game, Shane, it would look like it was going to be first to 3 points was going to win it. You know what I mean? I mean, it was that type of slugfest. Things really got rolling in the second half, and they started to feel each other out. But, man, just a terrific, terrific ball game. And you got to hope there's no moral victories in the SEC, but you got to hope if you're an A&M fan, this woke you up, made your team realize, hey, if we can go to the wire with number one team in the country on the road, why the hell can't we just run the table and beat everybody else we're going to face? Because there's not another team on your schedule that is as difficult as winning at Alabama. You know it?
Yeah, and I will tell you this, brother. Jahmyr Gibbs, the deal, the real freaking deal. I'm watching him and just how he's grown up, how this offensive line has gotten better. That running game was spot on. And it's like Texas A&M knew they were going to run, and they still couldn't stop it at times.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, Shane. I'll kick it over to Saban here, but he says Bryce wanted to play late in this ball game. Obviously did not. And if you watch that game closely, the pregame and his celebrations and whatnot, I mean, they're in the pregame, they're running little 5-yard passes. He's throwing them underhanded. He cannot – either he's being told not to, for whatever reason, don't use that shoulder, or he just can't do it. When he's, celebrating with guys and giving them high fives, he is not moving his hand above anywhere close to his shoulder. That kind of suggests that this is maybe a little bit more serious of an injury than anticipated. So I am not 100%. I don't care if Bryce wanted to play in this game or not. He didn't. I'm not sold on the fact that he suits up next week against Tennessee. What's your thoughts on that?
You may be. I mean, Bryce has got a lot of heart. I'll give you that. And he is the pulse of that team. But, it's like me going to a buffet. Sometimes my eyes say I can eat another plate, but my stomach's like, hey, we're done, man. Tap out. So I think that's where you're at. Bryce has the heart. He has the passion. He wants to get in there and help his team. But, there's got to be people, and clearly there are folks that are saying, no, this could be a detriment to your future. This could be a detriment to our program.
Right.
If you go out here and I always think about that, was it Tua that came back and then got hurt again? It's like, don't wait, don't linger. Alabama is in a perfect spot. As long as they win out in the West, they're still going to get into a college football playoffs. And now I'm not saying that because I want him. Maybe Nick Saban's listening to this thing. I don't know, but just bench him another week. Give him some time. Even if you lose this game, you still can go to a college football playoff. You just got to win out, especially with the West. So that's my 2 cents. So
yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, Shane. I realize Nick Saban, Alabama program, they're not wired this way, but if you drop this game to Tennessee, we're maybe getting way ahead of ourselves here, Shane, but losing a game to Tennessee doesn't kill you. What kills you, Shane, is if you throw him in there, he's not quite ready, he takes a big shot, he's done for the season. That Absolutely. Kills you because you still got road trips to LSU. You still got road trips to Ole Miss. You got red-hot Mississippi State upcoming. Priority for Alabama should be winning the West. Heck, I hope Bryce Young's 100% and he's good to go. If he is, play him. But if not, you're walking a fine line there if you're Nick Saban and Bryce Young, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And if he's close, like I said, Nick Saban is a genius, a football mastermind, and he's got to be thinking, do I need Bryce now or do I need him later?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to rush. Now, because if they win the game without him, they're in great shape because then you got Mississippi State, then a bye week. There's, the schedule kind of loosens up a little bit after those 2 games. But, if they drop it, then you maybe rush him up a little bit so he can come in for that Bulldog game. So there's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously some big time decisions got to get made down there, and they're not gonna ask us our opinion. But I think clearly this Alabama team needs Bryce.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Texas A&M or anything like that, but these next two games are going to they're going to decide the future of this program, and if they don't get some sort of passing attack there, they're going to get left behind, because guess what? These two next teams you got one that just broke a freaking record, and you got Tennessee Vols that are putting up 50 points a game. I mean, you're going to have some offense other than Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jalen did some good things, but obviously a couple turnovers, and but he's going to live and learn, and we're going to live and learn with him. And, we'll just see what kind of progress Bryce makes for the next week. But we're going to play a really good team next week on the road, and certainly have to play a lot better to have any chance of being successful.
The final play of the game, what did you see? What was the call on defense from a play calling standpoint?
Well, when they scored a touchdown earlier, we were playing them inside out, trapping the flat, thinking that they would run some kind of pick. So as soon as they put 4 wideouts in the game, we thought they would be similar. So we changed the leverage, on the guys, and they worked for us. So Terrion made a good play, and we had the guys covered on the other side pretty well too. I didn't get much of a view on the pass interference, but I guess it was a good call. I wouldn't say anything other than that thing else. And there's no question that, Bryce is a great competitor. He wants what's best for the team. He was very supportive. He's been very supportive all week of, helping Jalen every way that he can. But he also wants to play. And he actually wanted to play at the end of the game. But I think it's really, really good that you have players that support each other. Bryce is a good leader. That's what good leaders do. They set a good example, which Bryce does, but they also support their teammates and serve other people for their benefit. And I think that kind of sort of reaction to Jalen when he probably wishes that there was a couple things that happened in the game that didn't happen for him is probably really good for, Jalen's growth and development.
Kids played a good 2-minute drive, took it down the field, and got to one last play and had it. Was a good read. We just didn't get it executed in what we needed to do. But the decision was right where we were going and what we did. But very proud of them as far as they competed. No moral victories or no such things as moral victories. But it does show you what we're capable of and how we can play and the things we can do. And we got to play, regroup next week and play our tails off and get better and finish these last 6 games the way we need to play the rest of the year. And hopefully this will give us some vision, what we can be and what we can do. And we had 3 looks. Yeah, we were in 1-on-1. They were in 0 rat, 1-on-1 right in the corner on a 1-on-1 route. We had it, and we had 3 options on the front side, and he read it. And the same play we had scored on earlier, and we had hit Moose on, and they changed the coverage, and he went right back and made the perfect read where we were going to. They played it off the first time, and we knew if they did it, we had a 1-on-1 backside, and if they didn't the other way, we had our 2 looks on the front side in which we wanted.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, your thoughts on Haynes? Because he took a beat tonight, but still, he had you right
He's
there.
tough, and he got his foot banged up early in the game, played through it, and played really well. Did a heck of a job this, and we knew that from him. And they can rush. They can rush, and we slid, chipped, booted, moved pocket. But then sometimes you get 3rd down, if you don't win it, and they're hard to run on, you got to drop back and throw the football. You have to. And he did a heck. I thought he battled and played really well. Had the one mistake right before half. He was trying to throw the ball away and didn't get it far enough out of bounds. He knew he got pressure right off the bat, and when he stepped it shocked him, and he threw it. He didn't throw it far enough out. That was. I mean, there's some plays. Yeah, there's plays he wish he had back. But got paddled his tail off and played a heck of a game running and red zone throws and 3rd down. I thought he played a very good game. We got to get better, but I thought he competed really well. And gave us a chance to win the game. Yes, sir.
You said you could see some of these pieces coming together. And I was wondering, is that something you grab onto after a game like this?
Well, you got to grab onto it. I think each week you got to, but you can't take moral victories. I don't believe in moral victories. We're a good football team, but you show the growth in what you can be and what you can do, and you compete against a very good team we have a lot of respect for, who's coached very well, have good players, and battled. And our guys went there toe-to-toe. We went toe-to-toe with them. So, I mean, that shows you what you're capable of, and now we just got to have that urgency. Sometimes with younger guys, you got to see that, what you can be and how, and hopefully we got to bring that same energy and force into every game the last 6 games of the year.
Well, speaking, Shane, of the number 1 team in the country, maybe in your eyes, Tennessee goes on the road, just destroys LSU, Shane. I mean, this was a sight to behold, 40-13. this was literally, Shane, the second worst home loss Brian Kelly has ever suffered. And this is a guy that he actually has more wins in college football than Nick Saban. He goes back that far. But this was just complete and utter domination, Shane. Tennessee, 6 of 6 in the red zone for 30 points. That was killer. LSU was 2 for 5 for 13 points. Tennessee was 3 for 3 on fourth down. LSU 0 for 3 on fourth down. And how about this stat, Shane, from the SEC Network? Tennessee's 27-point win was ties for the largest Tennessee road win against an SEC West opponent since the league split into divisions. So, man, this is just, we keep saying it's a new era on Rocky Top, and they just continue to prove it. I mean, Tennessee's as dangerous as anybody in the country right now.
Oh, and they look good doing it, buddy. They look good. LSU had to play the perfect game, and they could not get out of their own way. I mean, opening kickoff, fumbling, special teams. Next thing you know, we're up 10-0. And I don't want to take from LSU. LSU's got a hell of a ball club, brother. And there was fighting. There was moments in this game you thought, man, these guys could get back into this thing. But they just couldn't keep up. And that's what we talk about with the Tennessee Volunteers. You just cannot afford to get behind multiple scores because you cannot play catch up with a team that is built to play that type of offense.
Right, and this Tennessee team's coming together in ways, that we still had questions for him. Shane, Jabari Small, 22 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. And you got to remember, this was with a reshuffled offensive line. Gerald Mincey, their left tackle, out for this game. Brew McCoy, 7 catches, 140 yards. Jalen Hyatt, 4 catches, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that is, of course, with Cedric Tillman out.
Yeah.
And then the big question, Shane, we had, can they run the ball? That's how they'll keep this thing going. 28 carries, 55 rushing yards for LSU, 2 yards per carry on average. I mean, Tennessee's dominating the line of scrimmage. Again, it's a different story doing it against Alabama. We'll see how they match up there. But, man, LSU, I thought, was, in the top half of the SEC. I still have them there, yet they got dominated at home. And these fans, Shane, again, I've never seen Tiger Stadium take it over like it was there on Saturday. That was something, wasn't it?
Oh, them balls are hungry, son. They'll go anywhere. Wherever you want to play, we'll be there. So this is, this is uncharted territory. My kid doesn't know a winning season like this in Tennessee. I mean, you got to think, last time we've remained undefeated was 1998, over 20-something years ago. So this is unusual for us. Now it's not unusual for LSU fans, and that's probably why they packed up. Just a few years ago they had a natty. So I told you the biggest problem with this game was the fact it was played at noon, and I feel like the noise wasn't a factor. I hate to say it, brother. I know it got a little wild at times down there, but it never felt like that was the reason that we couldn't sustain drives or make stupid mistakes on third downs. That kind of chaos that they created not at Death Valley, they weren't able to implement it at 12 or 11 Central Time down there in Baton Rouge.
Right. Let me ask you this, Shane. After, we're basically at the midway point of the season, you've got to be feeling better about Tennessee's odds, but do you still favor Georgia to win the East? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, man, you're going to clip this shit, ain't you? Here's what – Tennessee can hang with anybody, man. They can absolutely hang with anybody. They can put points up on anybody. Yeah. It doesn't matter who's out there. Tennessee can beat Georgia. They can beat Alabama. That's proven to us, and they're doing it without their star receiver, which they may have back this week. They definitely will have back during that Georgia game, I would imagine. So you're asking me, can they beat the Georgia Bulldogs? Absolutely, man. Missouri beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah. Kent State put it to the Georgia Bulldogs. They did great this week against Auburn, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But, You know, no team in the SEC is untouchable right now. When you talk Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, you put those 3 teams on the field, man, they got a shot to win every game. So I am a believer. I keep, like I said, I started this show, man. I felt like we're waiting for the bottom to drop out. Now I've convinced myself that we're there, and I think you're seeing it with the players, the confidence. I mean, some of these throws that Hooker is making right now, there's not like his. I mean, could you imagine? I don't know how he fits through a door, brother, because that head. I mean, he's just got to be super confident right now. He just knows that his receivers are going to be there. He knows Jalen's going to be there. He knows Keaton's going to be there. Mm-hmm. He just launches it. I love it. I love this offense, man. I love this team.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, Shane, LSU, one game, we're not writing you off after one game. Tennessee's red hot, but they're in a little bit of a danger zone themselves, Shane. They go to Florida this week. Mm-hmm. Then they host Ole Miss. And then the next game, they do get a bye week, but then it's Alabama at home. I mean, this is a tricky area here where – you got to pull an upset at home or you got to win on the road. I mean, I'm a little concerned if LSU plays like they did here, they may not win a game the next month of the season.
I don't know, man. I'm going to tell you right now. I said it when we started talking about this game. LSU impressed me still.
Yeah.
The scoreboard, if you didn't watch the game, you just, hey, Tennessee smoked them. Well, no, they didn't. They got lucky. They had a couple of breaks and a couple balls bounce our way. But once we got the momentum, then obviously we leaned in on it. But LSU had moments in this game that they showed that they can hang with us. And I think LSU is going to surprise some teams this year. I truly do. They came into this game. There was a lot. That was like the sexy pick was picking LSU against Tennessee,
yep.
And it was kind of scary because you're like, okay, I can be convinced. But after the game, I'm still convinced that LSU can beat a lot of teams that they got coming up. Florida in particular, they got them this week. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a hell of a matchup. And if they stop making the stupid mistakes, I don't know about you, but watching Kelly, it felt like. He was coaching emotional. It's like me on Madden, I throw an interception, I get the ball back, I want to try throw it again, catch up, But it felt like after that muffed kick that he wanted to get it back, and that's why he kept going for fourth downs and stupid things. He was coaching emotionally and not mentally, and I think if he could have just paused for a second, or somebody on the sideline said, "Hey, coach, chill out. There's more minutes in this game." Right. I think that he could have regrouped, but he just kept giving Tennessee excellent position and opportunities, and they just took advantage of it.
Yeah. Final thoughts on this game, Shane. You just hit on something that I did want to mention. I'm glad you hit it. We've seen it now with LSU. We've seen it with Florida. Tennessee forces you to be super aggressive because you're damn scared of what they can do to you on offense. We remember Billy Napier was like going for it for 2 down 11. I mean, say what you want, but not just that play. But we've seen it twice now against Florida and LSU. I mean, they have to go for it every damn time because they have little to no confidence. They can slow or stop Tennessee's offense. And I think that's, that again speaks to how well Hendon Hooker's playing. He's not turning the ball over. Josh Heupel, ability. I mean, every week, Shane, there's just receivers just wide ass open. You got to figure like Brew McCoy running down the slot. Let's cover that. This is 2 games in a row. He's wide open on these plays. So credit Tennessee, but it speaks to these teams. I mean, they're scared to death. To try to keep up with Tennessee, and they just can't do it.
Well, I mean, again, you cannot afford to get down 3 scores on Tennessee because you can't catch up to a program that has no problem moving the ball like they are right now. So I'm with you.
Josh, did you sense this, or could you sense this? I mean, this certainly seems like the most thorough performance you've had against the quality in this type of setting. What led to this, and did you sense it coming?
What led to it is the work and the effort, the preparation that our players have put into it, our staff too. I don't give them enough credit at times, probably, just with you guys. Our staff does a great job in prepare and consistency, giving them a great plan. Our players work and work the entire week to figure the plan out and to play with tempo and speed and effort and technique. And, I said it a week ago, like we've been a long ways away from playing our best football. I'll still say that today, too. There's a lot that we can get better at. We'll need to do that next week. But the thing that I love about this program is that everybody inside of it comes to compete every single day, and they enjoy doing that together. And it sounds like it should be everywhere. It's rare that you find that type of energy inside of a program.
A lot of games in the stadium, and I've never seen it taken over like that. I know you talked a little bit about the fans already, but just the atmosphere after the game and the way they took the stadium over. What do you think of that?
Yeah, the energy from the very beginning, though, like you could feel it as soon as we got anywhere near the stadium. And when our players walked out, man, our fans were in their seats early. You could feel their energy, and as the game unfolded, man, they were a factor and a part of the game for us. And it's rare that you have a fan base that travels the way that ours is right now, man. It's a great time in Rocky Top, and we appreciate our fans.
Put teams away. What is it about this team? What is it about the leadership that you've noticed over the past 6 weeks leading where we are?
Yeah, I think they're on the same page. They're fighting for the same goals. They understand their plans on their unit and compete really hard. They love each other. And they love competing every day. Like last week's practice, Tuesday and Wednesday, just the way we finished, man. It's a fun team to be around in the way that they practice, and it's because of our staff and the buy-in they've gotten from their position players, and collectively as a program, the culture that's there.
Our details were not very good. I mean, look, I could stand up here all day. That falls on coaching. That's on me, and I have to coach better. We've got to coach better. We've got to coach our team better. That's the group we have. And we've got to coach them better. Congratulations to Tennessee, and they played well today. They were the better football team, and they certainly deserved the win today. But have to coach this football team better. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, Brian. In the first half, all the fourth down gambles, you just feel like you had to score points to beat Tennessee. Touchdown.
Yeah, got behind by 10, and then. Couldn't match possessions at that time. We were within the analytical numbers too. So I was keeping an eye on, where we were from that position. Once you get behind against a team like that, you're listening both to those and your opportunities to score. So felt like I needed to.
Coach, after 2 failed fourth down attempts and then 3 incomplete passes, what gave you the confidence to go for it on fourth down going into the end of the half?
Necessity. I felt like we had to make something happen in those situations. I'm not somebody that kind of looks at what happened in the past. I still feel confident in my group. It still was a green go scenario for us, and when we look at the analytics, so it was right on the edge. It was a 4th and 10 go. I think it was 4th and 10 in that situation. It was a go in our book. So again, I could have taken a conservative route there. I just felt like we needed to continue to be aggressive.
Well, Shane, speaking of Tennessee, great time to remind the audience we are brought to you by Game Time Sidekicks. This is a partnership we are so excited about, Shane. Officially licensed stainless steel drinkware from a company founded out of Knoxville, but they're not Tennessee homers, Shane. Our contact over there is a Florida Gator, so don't judge them too harshly there. They got the entire SEC covered. They got the entire NCAA covered with some high-quality gear for all you college football fans out there. The holidays just around the corner. You're not going to find a better opportunity to get someone a gift here. And thanks to our partnership with Game Time Sidekicks, Shane, promo code Hey Buddy, one word. Head on over to GameTimeSidekicks.com and you'll get 15% off any order. And again, they got these tumblers that are amazing. You can do customizable ones, Shane. You can get an entire set. You can get all kinds of gear. So head on over to GameTimeSidekicks.com and don't forget to use that promo code Hey Buddy to get 15% off your order. We're also brought to you by the Wager app, Shane. Oh, we are crashing and burning on Wager, but that's good news for you guys because all you got to do is hop on that Wager app and use that promo code SEC. They'll give you $20 free to gamble with. No credit card required. Just listen to the show, fade our picks. You'll probably be a multi-millionaire by the season's end, Shane, with this $20 that they're giving to you for free over at Wager. So if you're not familiar with the Wager app, very, very user-friendly, peer-to-peer gambling service, Shane. Instead of betting against some unknown casino, whatever, you can bet against your buddies, bet against us. We're on there, that SEC podcast group. There's over 100 of us on there. Come hang out, gamble against us. And again, use that free $20. Wager is also matching your initial deposit up to $100 for all new users. So we're talking $220 in your account today. Just fade our picks, and again, you'll be making it out before you know it. You know what?
Absolutely, man. I lost a lot of money this weekend. So, yeah, jump on Wager because if I'm on a hot hand right now, but I think I'm due.
And last but not least, Shane, don't forget prizepicks.com. Same promo code SEC. They will match your initial deposit up to $100. Daily fantasy sports thanks to Prize Picks. And, man, I keep delivering winners after winners after winners, Shane. And this is just college football. You could bet on NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey. They got it all over there at Prize Picks. So check it out, prizepicks.com, promo code SEC, and all these advertisers in the show notes. That's the best way to help the podcast stay free, stay independent, take advantage of these outstanding sponsorships we got here. All right, Shane, so hey, next game on the docket, huge win for Shane Beamer and his South Carolina program, 24-14 in Lexington. You know, we knew Will Levis was going to be, well, we didn't know, but it was pretty established Will Levis was not going to play, yet we both still believed in Kentucky. So, hey, again, fade our picks. I promise you're going to be making some money here. But, man, what a win here. First ranked win of the Shane Beamer era. That's incredible considering they've gone to a bowl game, won 7 games last year. But this, what we said, Shane, this was a turning point potentially for South Carolina's season. Fire the offensive coordinator. Bench Spencer Rattler. What the hell we doing here? What the hell we doing there? Now we're sitting here, got a ranked double-digit win on the road against a Kentucky team that was in the top 10 about a week ago, Shane. I mean, this is an impressive win. And if I'm a Gamecock, I'm on cloud 9, and all of a sudden, my hopes are high because I didn't even think South Carolina played that well, yet they won by 10 points. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, Mike, first off, I probably should apologize to them Gamecocks out there. You know what I'm saying? They came out ready to play. You should take a shot every time you hear Beamer ball because you'd be drunk at the end of the game. But I tell you, it was in full effect there, brother. What drove me nuts about this game, okay, we know Will Levis is out, but I think in Kentucky's mind that they felt like they could just go out here, pound Rodriguez, and win a game against South Carolina. It's almost felt like that's what the game script was. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Rodriguez looks good. He did great, but they did not have the ability to get this quarterback going. It's almost like they were afraid to let Sharon throw the damn ball. And South Carolina, man, I'd pause it a few times during this game, and I'd look, and there'd be 11 people within 5 yards of the goal line. And I'm like, how the hell do you think – I mean, your offensive line is garbage anyway, and you think you could just get behind them boys and win a ball game? I mean, if I was a Kentucky fan, I'd be extremely frustrated. But as a Gamecock fan, you were tickled pink that they weren't ready to switch it up, you know?
Right. Yeah, and like you said, Shane, I mean, I don't know what in the hell Kentucky was thinking with this game plan. I mean, first play of the game, tried a dumb trick play that blew up in their face, resulted in a turnover. I mean, it was just literally the worst start you could imagine. Spencer Rattler, Shane, shaky. I mean, we text during these games. You were just like, oh, my God. I mean, this guy ain't it. And you were not alone. We were all thinking it. 4 straight drives, Shane, South Carolina had into Kentucky territory. Rattler fumble, turnover on downs, punt, Rattler interception, and you're sitting here saying, what in the hell? Kentucky has given us this game, and we are doing nothing with it. But, hey, adjustments were made. Dominate the second half. Spencer Rattler, we were critical of him. Here's how he finished, though, Shane. 8 of 10 passing. 3 of those completions were for first downs, and 1 was for a touchdown after that dreadful, dreadful interception. So this guy cannot be rattled, Shane. He keeps coming back stronger and stronger. It does not faze him. I love that. You mentioned the block punt. South Carolina now has 5 blocked punts on the season. That's number 1 in the country. Chris Rodriguez, you knew this had to be a big Chris Rodriguez game. They pounded him 22 carries, 126 yards, but that is literally all they had going for him on offense. I mean, it was dreadful, and maybe I, Shane, have discounted the value Will Levis brings to this football team, because Kentucky, I mean, they basically look terrible without Will Levis.
Well, and that's the thing. And I don't know if I'm saying this right. Is his name Sharon? Is that how you say it?
I think so.
Like Ed Sheeran?
I hope we never get to say it again. You know what I mean? Based on what we saw.
Oh, shit, Mike. I mean, he's young. You know what I'm saying? He's young. But I will say this. Watching the game, there was moments and I was just – when he did go back to throw, he was still running for his life.
Yeah.
And Will Levis has been doing that the entire season. But he's a better quarterback. He's built better to get these hits, Well, not that. I mean, he's in a boot and a broken finger, I mean, how many? I don't know if it's broken, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, it was
We've
definitely
all seen the pictures.
pointing the wrong way.
Yeah. But I mean, like now you're putting in a redshirt freshman going against the same thing. He is literally. It's one thing to throw passes at practice. You're gonna throw good balls. You're gonna look good. But when you're running for your life, it's a different ball club. It's a different game altogether. And there was nothing. There was no scripting for that. It kind of infuriated me, and I know it infuriated a lot of Kentucky fans because I see them on my timeline. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on South Carolina, man. Here they come in, a hostile environment. They get a top 15 win. I mean, that's huge in this year, in this Beamer era,
Yeah.
I think that was what they needed. They needed a little momentum. They needed to see that all that hard work that they put in the offseason is finally coming to fruition. So I think that's where you're coming with South Carolina. Marshawn Lloyd's playing the best ball he's done. And as much as I shit on Satterfield, I thought there was some great play calling during this game. I thought it was very creative. There were some things that obviously, Rattler got under my skin a few times, but when he did get settled in, he was productive and he looked good. So South Carolina, they brought it, man. And we talked about this crew is a scrappy crew. They're gonna claw and they're gonna fight every single game. And if you're not prepared for them, you're gonna lose to them.
Yeah, and just some incredible coincidence. I don't know if you want to call it coincidence or what, Shane, but 2 years ago, South Carolina lost to Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's when basically Shane Beamer got hired, is kind of how he said it. Right after that game, maybe it was Muschamp got fired. And then a year ago, Oklahoma, Texas, that's where Spencer Rattler lost his job. So these things have kind of come full circle to where they have rebuilt and reestablished themselves at South Carolina. It's just kind of cool to think about where they have come in such a short amount of time. And maybe the best part, if you're a Gamecock, Shane, if you're Shane Beamer, he got to dance with them glasses in the post game.
Is there a video of that?
Yeah, I was going to play the video right there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's got glasses on?
He's like, they made fun of the glasses? He's like, well, and he put them on and they all go crazy. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, my God.
Make sure, hey.
I love it, man. This is college football, brother. You're creating rivalries every day. They will hate Beamer for the rest of his life up there in Lexington.
2 years ago when South Carolina came up here and there's a bunch of players on this team that were here that night. It's not lost on me that that was certainly a low point for the players in this program. Their coach had been fired. They came up here and got beat handedly. And literally during the game, I'm sitting there watching it on television back in Norman, Oklahoma. Sorry. Watching it on TV in Norman, Oklahoma. And during the game is when Coach Tanner and Chance reached out. I'll never forget Coach Tanner calling me and saying, "You ready to do this?" And I told him, "I've been waiting my whole life for you to say that." And the players came in that night and walked back in this same locker room and picked up their phones and saw the news. And probably other than Jaheim, I knew in high school because I recruited him. DK, I knew because I recruited him. Everybody else probably said, "Who in the heck is Shane Beamer?" And he's our new head coach. And for those guys to go from that point where they were less than 2 years ago to this night up here is pretty special. And we were shorthanded as well. I know they had injuries. So did we, playing without two of our top three safeties. Yeah, you see my kids in the back with T-shirts and sunglasses. Thank Connor Shaw for that T-shirt. He dropped that off yesterday as well. So thank you, Connor. Appreciate you, brother. No, I think so. To beat a team like this, Justin King was telling me, I think this is the first time we've won 3 straight games in like 5 years or something. Last time I know we haven't won a road game since I've been the head coach. Beating a ranked team on the road. Whatever, however long ago that was. I know it's been a long time on a lot of these things, but I think so. We continue to get better, and it's not always pretty out there, but certainly to see, I know y'all heard it, but to see the joy in that locker room, and we're not shocked. Like we had guys like this was as confident a football team coming in here that we've had in any game that I've coached here at Carolina. We had the best week of practice by far. Our guys expected to win the football game. The first thing I said on Tuesday morning when I walked in that team meeting room is, if you don't expect to win the game and know you're going to win the game, get out right now. Because we didn't need to come in here hoping we were going to play well and all that stuff. We needed to know we were going to win the football game, and it was going to take a heck of an effort to do it. And we did that. I told Cole Kubelik in that post-game interview as well, it's not lost on me either that Oklahoma played Texas today out in Dallas. And that was the game last year that Spencer got benched in and lost his starting quarterback job. And I told him on Tuesday, this is going to be one heck of a story when you go up to Lexington on Saturday night and get this win for us. So on the same day that Oklahoma plays Texas 1 year later, that ultimately led Spencer here because he lost his job at Oklahoma, he leads us to a win like this in Lexington, Kentucky tonight. It's pretty freaking special for that kid too.
He did some good things when he had time. I thought when we put him in a position to be successful, I don't think we played very good around him. And, so it's one thing that I put on all of us, myself, the coaches, and the team. And I told the team that. I don't think we responded and played very well around him. I thought we played as poorly as we have all year at certain positions around a first-time starter. And I don't think that's right for that young man. And there's things that he did very well, and there's areas where we didn't do a good enough job around him.
We saw the defense give up some explosive plays late in the game. That's pretty uncharacteristic. Do you believe this is a one-game thing for Will, or is it possible that he could be back next week?
I'm not sure. I really don't. It's been day to day, and it's day to day. So I can't tell you how that's going to respond.
Mark, 6 more sacks allowed tonight. Even when Will comes back, how do you build an offense where it's so unreliable protecting?
Yeah, in the first half, the start was horrible. Then we got the run game going. And with the run game, that's kind of who we got to be if Will's out of there and continue to be physical and to play passes. We hit the wide pop, there off the play action. And, that's who we got to be. I mean, drop back passing and predictable pass is not where we want to live. Late in the game when you're down, I don't know how many of them were late. And again, I'm not trying to make an excuse. 3 were late, but we're not good in general, but you're certainly not going to be good in predictable pass late in the game when you're down with a redshirt freshman quarterback. That's not where we want to live. We got to play really good, as a team, and that's my biggest disappointment. I don't feel like we rallied, and not just a goofy cliche when I say this, but I mean, like for us, we've always been. You guys have watched us. I mean, we're not great in any area. We got to be good as a team. The strength of our team is generally the team, and we didn't do that today. We weren't good in a lot of different pieces, and that's not good.
Well, speaking of a rivalry, Shane, Mississippi State 40, Arkansas 17. This was usually a back and forth time style game here, but man, Mississippi State red hot Bulldogs dominated this matchup. I mean, it was 21-0 right out the gate. Arkansas never stood a chance, and I think this is what we talked about, Shane. How will they handle the quarterback with KJ Jefferson likely out? They brought out Fortin to start. I mean, that was just an epic disaster. Blew up in their face, threw for 8 yards. Then you bring in Malik Hornsby, which you should have done at the beginning. He didn't light the world on fire, but he gave you a spark, but it was too little too late because Mississippi State, Will Rogers, just incredible, Shane, 395 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was not even touched, I don't think, in this game. And here's the biggest thing, Shane. There's 2 things with Mississippi State that I love. Mike Leach now is committed to running the football when it's there, and they rushed for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns on Arkansas. That is what you have to do if the defense is dropping 8. You just got to pound that rock. He's willing and committed to doing it now. And that Mississippi State defense, Shane, this is as physical and as tough as they have ever been under Mike Leach. And they out Arkansas, so to speak. I mean, goal line stands, making big-time plays. This is one hell of a dangerous Mississippi State team. And I'm not saying they're going to win the West, but I am not ruling them out of doing that either. It's unfortunate for them. They slipped up against LSU, so their margin for error is gone. I think that's one by the end of the season. They're going to be kicking themselves. They lost to LSU.
I think so too, and I think one of the ones you hit on was Dylan Johnson, just the absolute animal. I mean, he is like old school running back, and I love it, brother. If you watch him run, he'll run right through you. And then I guess you were talking about your 2 favorite things. I love this ducking kid. Every time he scores, I want him to score more touchdowns just so I can see those dances.
I heard on SEC Network, Shane, they called him Mr. Autocorrect. Do you get that?
Oh.
You ever try to type some profanities on your phone? It changes it to ducking real quick. But
that's right. I've texted that a few times to you. Are you ducking kidding me?
Mississippi State also showed in the red zone 4 for 4, 27 points. That'll win you a lot of ball games. While Arkansas 1 of 3 for only 7 points. And how about this, Shane? Mississippi State has scored 17 consecutive red zone opportunities. They now lead the nation 20 of 21 in the red zone, scoring 95%. Again, it speaks to how veteran a team this is, what great decisions Will Rogers is making. You want to talk about threading the needle, Shane. That's difficult. When Arkansas is dropping 8 in the red zone, these windows are small, but Will Rogers is finding them, exploiting them, and man, I just could be. It's like one of our boys here, Shane, because we've been talking them all up all off season. We're about ready to jump off a bandwagon after LSU, but now we're back and we're claiming all the quotes we had this off season. They're living up to the hype. I'm like a proud parent over here. You know what?
Oh, absolutely. The training wheels are off, and they're off and running, brother. I think this is great. Mississippi State fans, they've went through some dark days themselves. And I think they're finally bouncing back, and they're fun to watch, man. I mean, it's been a long time since the Bulldogs have been fun to watch, but it's both sides of the ball. Like you said, defense and offense. These guys are just playing great. But I got to address the elephant in the room, Mike. Here we are, Arkansas, 3 losses.
Yeah.
We're going to BYU next week.
Critical game.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what the spread is on this thing. I think we discussed it, but BYU barely lost to Notre Dame, so they're no longer a top 25 team, but they're still a dangerous program, especially if Arkansas is limping into it. They got to get past this one. After this, they got a bye week. I think they can correct a few things, get their mind right, but this is the ultimate trap game here. So what does Arkansas have to do, Mike? What do they got to do this week?
Well, they got to get KJ healthy, get him back in the lineup. I think we saw how valuable he is to this team. They have got to – I don't know if you can solve the issues on defense because they're just dreadful right now. But the one thing they do got going for them is they can get to the quarterback. Now, you can't do that if you're dropping 8. Obviously, 0 sacks in this ball game. They probably no longer lead the SEC in sacks, but they were. But, man, we have – that's what we got to use the bye week for, basically, I think, is try to fix this defense. Losing a key player here or there has just thrown a complete wrench into the game plan on the defensive side of the ball. They're just awful. They're awful on defense right now. And so they need KJ Jefferson and they in this running game to outscore you. And I still think they can outscore a lot of the teams left on their schedule. But this defense is also making them beatable, I think, in basically every SEC football game. So key to that, Shane, is just don't give up the hope. I know the fans are down in the dumps, but I still think Arkansas can come out of here with a 8-win season if they take care of business. But it's got to start here against BYU, who, come on, give me a break. They're overrated, you know.
I was hoping they'd beat Notre Dame just so they get their asses beat this week, but now it's not as fun. But we'll still do it. We'll still take it.
Coach, for the second straight week, no sacks for your offensive line, but this time it was against the team that leads the conference in sacks. What did they do well, and what can you say about their performance?
I thought we blocked pretty well. I thought we were pretty good up front, got a lot of yards on the ground, and that's kind of what they gave us to a certain extent. And then but we did throw it and did run it well, and I do think that's more of a credit to our offensive line. And then I thought Will did a good job managing the game, and so we did have a consistency that I liked pretty well. We stubbed our toe a few times and didn't finish a couple drives, but generally speaking, we were consistent. And I do think the more consistent team won this game.
Coach, your running backs touched the ball 46 times, almost 300 yards, had your best day running the football since you've been here. How much has that part of the game evolved, you think, over the last 3 years, especially with Dylan and Woody?
Well, I think we got a couple. I actually think we have 3 really good running backs, and then and you want them to touch the ball. It kind of you could look at it this way: you had Dylan on the ground and Woody through the air, and they both had a bunch of yards. Like if you add up. And you look like a guy that's really good in math and things. I mean, because that's why everybody goes into journalism, because they love math. And to be perfectly honest, I hated math, so I actually thought about journalism for that particular reason. But those backs, the backs had. They might have had as many yards as the rest of the team combined. I don't think quite, but it's probably kind of close.
You have a game, and you better get ready for it. And we've lost 3 in a row. I told the kids after if anybody asks them a question, blame me, because I'm the head coach, and I'm the one that deserves the blame. And I'm not trying to be holier than thou up here. I believe that I'm the head coach. I deserve the blame. I guess basically what I'm saying is I don't want our kids – there's a difference in losing and being a loser, and there's a difference. And we lost, but we're not a group of a bunch of losers because we can come back. And our goal from the beginning of the year was to go to a bowl. And it could be the playoff bowl, it could be this, but our minimum goal is to get to a bowl game. And we still have that opportunity. And you know how it is. You know how it is when you lose something to play for. Then it's hard. But we haven't.
Well, speaking about getting beat down, Shane, Georgia defends the home turf, bounces back 42-10 over Auburn. This is the Auburn Tigers we thought they were. I mean, Robbie Ashford, what are you doing dropping the ball left and right? He leads the country in fumbles. Listen to this, Shane. This is Auburn's third down to go. How many yards they had to go all game long? 6, which is still pretty long. 15 yards to go. 15 yards to go. 10 yards to go, 6 yards to go, 11 yards to go. And at the tail end here, 10 yards to go, 13 yards to go, 10 yards to go, 10. I mean, they were just completely ineffective on offense, and Georgia got back to that ground game. They were not able to rush the ball on Missouri. They did it against, probably what is a better defense against Auburn. Georgia, 292 yards on the ground on 39 carries. That's 7.5 yards per carry. Stetson Bennett had a big 64-yard rushing touch. He looked like one of the fastest quarterbacks in the country on that run, didn't he? But, the score was lopsided, but this was a little bit of an ugly, ugly game. I believe it was 14-0 nearing halftime here. Mm-hmm. And hey, credit Brian Harsin, I guess, for going for fake punts and doing all this, but I don't know about the play call of it was pretty poor. And Auburn, after they didn't get that, they had no shot in this ball game, did they?
No, I'm good. I mean, infuriated me with this game. There was opportunities in that first half to take chances with your offense, not your damn punter. There was moments when he should have gambled. This was not it. And that's what infuriates me is there was a lot of third down or fourth down and short yardage situations and, some real momentum killers that I think of that field goal opportunity they did. It's like, what was you don't need 3 points here. You need 7 and you're in the red zone. You haven't been here that often. So
right.
That I got to ask Mike because I'm getting a lot of shit online. I don't know if you are, if you're just ignoring it, but Georgia fans are not happy that we're not talking about them more. And it's tough, and it's to their fault. I mean, if Georgia was old school Georgia, 6-7 years ago, Georgia, we're talking about this ass whooping. It's probably the first game we mentioned right out of the gate. It's a CBS game. It's the oldest rivalry in the SEC, and, blah, blah, blah. But, they just came out and they did their job. They became old school. I always think of like the Swift and all these great running backs that come through. Here we got a pair right now of running backs down there that are just as good as any running back that's come through that university. I mean, they are just dynamite. That little Robinson kid, man. Brother, that's like a bowling ball coming down. I know he didn't get 3 scores, but damn, it's because they didn't give him a shot. He would have had 4 if they had it. So yeah. I think, is that fair to them, Mike? Is it fair that we're not talking more about how great the Georgia Bulldogs are? They didn't have to do anything fancy here, Mike. They didn't have to throw it. They didn't have to be creative. They just had to turn around and hand the ball off and just beat the shit out of Auburn. Mm-hmm. And Auburn beat themselves as soon as they got on the field there. So, is that fair to the Bulldogs? Should we talk about them more? Because I know national media attention is talking about, Alabama all the time. They're talking about Texas A&M today, but maybe a little Tennessee sprinkled in here and there. But it's always Alabama. It's always Georgia. And I know I do a bad job of reminding the listeners how great the Bulldogs are. And I know it sounds like I'm on a box here, Mike, but they're great. They are great. The defense did exactly what they were supposed to do. There was literally no mistakes, maybe 1 or 2 minor ones, but there was no mistake. This was a perfect, flawless game. And they're dangerous. I don't want to face them, So you asked me at the start of the show, is Tennessee shots against Georgia? Hell, if they come out playing like they did against Auburn, no, I don't want to play them. Right. I never want to play them. So I'm just saying all that to say this. Yes, I don't talk about Georgia probably as much as I do some of these other programs, but why would you? Just log on the ESPN app and look at those stats. They just beat the shit out of them.
Well, also here's a problem, Shane. Last opponents, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, and next up Vanderbilt. So probably not going to be doing a bunch of deep dives on how Georgia matches up with Vanderbilt, but things are going to ratchet up here in late October, November. Florida, Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky. That is where Georgia's season will be defined, not how you do against Missouri or Auburn, which is the two worst teams, and Vanderbilt, the three worst teams in the SEC. I mean, what more do you want me to say? I think LSU, I think Ole Miss, I think Alabama, I think Tennessee will beat the hell out of all these teams. So it's kind of hard to get a measuring stick on them when just where they are at currently on the schedule. And, Stetson Bennett, I don't know, Shane. I mean, he looks off to me. It looks like something's missing in this offense. And that's wild to say because you just won by 32 points against a key rival that I believe you've beaten 6 years in a row now. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because something seems off with them. And hell,
I get that.
They just had the greatest team, I think, at least defensively, and the offense was just a baby step behind them last season, Shane. So maybe we're judging them on greatness that they were last season, but I sure as hell remember picking them to win every game last season as they tore through the SEC. So, no, play someone with a pulse, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it,
All right, so calm down, Bulldog fans. We're just letting it marinate. We're going to let the schedule talk here in the next few weeks. So,
all right, how about this one, Shane, again? Ole Miss on the road at Vandy, tight ball game for the first half. Ole Miss wins 52-28, but Vanderbilt had the lead at halftime, 20-17.
Yeah.
Of course, Ole Miss dominated the second half, 35-8. Jackson Dart, 25 of 32, 448 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jonathan Mingo, Shane, broke the all-time Ole Miss record for receiving yards, 9 catches, 247 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. They were just connecting. Look at their drive chart, Shane. Field goal, downs, interception. This is when they're struggling. And then touchdown, interception, touchdown, including a touchdown with about 5 seconds left that was totally uncalled for, but beat the spread. Wink, wink, Lane Kiffin. Clark Lee was not too happy about that, but this is just, I think, who the Ole Miss Rebels are this year, Shane. I mean, week to week, half to half, quarter to quarter, you just don't know which team is going to show up. They're so inconsistent. Impressive win at the end of the day, but they really should have steamrolled Vanderbilt, and it was a competitive ball game.
Very. I mean, this was a great game first half. I mean, obviously, I was texting Mike saying, "Hey, can you dig up those old audio clips where I said Vandy's going to get their first upset?" Because I was looking like a hero, and some of the fans were tweeting at me about it, and I was like, "Oh, here I am, baby." But then, but like you said, then halftime hit. The problem, Vanderbilt's just not deep enough to hang with a team like Ole Miss, and I don't know if you watched the game. For starters, Mingo, fantastic. I mean, that should be acknowledged. He broke the record down there.
Yep.
I think that was an awesome accomplishment. I don't know if you're handing out awards, but definitely should be considered. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the game, though, Lane just showed his true colors again. I mean, you want to talk about an asshole. I mean, there's not a bigger one than Lane Kiffin. There's no reason that they needed to hurry up and score a touchdown there at the end of the game. And, of course, he grabs Coach Lee at the end, and he's apologizing. He said because there was a difference in the game clock. Take a knee. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of coach he is. But if he's my coach, I love that. I do. I think I let cockiness, the arrogance. But if you're one of the other 13 teams, man, you can't stand it because that ran all over me. Don't get me wrong. I had the over, so I was happy that it happened. I won some money, but damn, that was just. I think that was a little uncalled for.
Yeah, and it does concern me a little bit. Shane Jackson Dart. I mean, Ole Miss fans, they're on cloud 9. He threw for 448 yards, but he had some just horrific interceptions, and that's kind of what kept Vanderbilt hanging in this ball game. And again, you play an SEC team with a pulse, that's going to kill you. He nearly did it last week against Kentucky. Avoided is not even the right word because he nearly had some interceptions there, but it was just some lack of execution on Kentucky's part. That's going to blow up in his face against a better SEC opponent, and that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. You know what?
I'm right there with you. Do you got Ole Miss's next 4 games here?
Next 4 for Ole Miss, Shane. Auburn at home, at LSU, at Texas A&M. You get a bye week, and then Alabama comes to town.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess they can kind of wing this thing till Bama. You know what I'm saying? They're finding ways to win. It wasn't pretty. Obviously, you know, you're going to look at the score and think Ole Miss just blew them out. And me and you talked about that. Maybe that was a reason they added some points there at the end. I really think it was a gambling thing, but maybe had a little money on this game. I don't know. I don't want to be that guy, but I think you're right. Dart is very inconsistent, and I feel like he's getting better progression, but maybe not as quick as I expecting here. You know, everybody wants Matt Corral 2.0, but they're not going to get it with him. I just think they got to straighten it up, man, because you go into a team like, you know, Texas A&M, which is now playing better. LSU, sneaky good team. I think, you know, those stupid mistakes that you've gotten away with in the past few games, you know, that's going to come back and haunt you. So I'm with you. They're going to have to clean up and be a little bit more efficient on that side of the ball.
Now, final game to discuss here, Shane. Florida wins at home over Missouri in the Swamp, 24-17. This was one of the ugliest games I've seen in a while that did not feature a 3-and-out. It felt like they were all going 3-and-out, but there was not a 3-and-out in this ball game. There was some discussion, Shane, on whether Anthony Richardson would get benched, but I don't know they got anyone to bench him for. He was 8 of 14 for 66 passing yards, touchdown, and an interception. And the interception came late, kept Missouri in this ball game. Brady Cook, man, rough. I mean, 22 of 30, 220 yards. That sounds pretty good, but 2 interceptions. One was a pick six. One occurred in the red zone. Those were just backbreakers. I mean, it's just one thing after another with Missouri, Shane. I mean, they can put almost a complete game together, yet the quarterback crumbles in key situations. So it's just heartbreaking for if you're a Missouri fan. Remember we called attention, Shane, to Jadon Hill. He was the one with the quotes where, you know, Florida's not supposed to lose to Missouri. Well, credit him because he should be SEC Defensive Player of the Week, Shane. 2 interceptions, including the pick six. I mean, that's literally the difference in a win and a loss for the Florida Gators. Now, the Gators were also able to rush the ball, 32 carries for 231 yards on the ground and a touchdown, but so was Mizzou, 42 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mizzou, 9 of 17 on third down. Florida, only 3 of 11. Again, man, they got bailed out by their defense, but hey, sometimes that's going to happen in the SEC. You need one unit to step up if the other's not getting it done. And, man, I'm sweating bullets if I'm a Florida fan that this is what we're putting on the field. But, hey, a win's a win, particularly in the SEC. But I don't think this would have been a win if it was on the road. You know what?
Mike, I couldn't be more wrong about a game. Here I'm talking about Anthony Richardson. I bought back into the NFL hype, and he comes out and he throws 8 completions. And I'm looking at Mizzou. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're gonna be exhausted from keeping up with Georgia. And this defense, brother, one of the best. It's one of the most unsung defenses in the SEC so far this year. These guys are – they did everything they could to keep – I mean, hell, short of an interception returned for a touchdown, they only gave up 17 points in this game. They held Georgia in check last week. These guys are doing everything they can, and the ball didn't go their way. And like you said, I think if this was in Missouri, we would probably have a different outcome, probably have an upset here. But Florida Gators, man, you got lucky. That's all I can say. Just this is one of those you file away, you never talk about again. you take the victory and you move on. But this was not a fun game to watch. But there was some hero moments in here.
Yeah, a lot of things to correct for both teams. But it was just the home team edged out here slightly. Now, last thing, Shane, opening lines. We got some great games on the docket for next weekend. 6 SEC matchups. Or excuse me, five SEC matchups, can't count, and then one non-conference showdown. So you ready to bet some opening lines here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, the one non-conference one, Shane. Arkansas at BYU. What do you think the opening spread is for that one?
Oh, I think they're going to shit on Arkansas after these last 3 weeks. So let's go BYU minus 8.
-2. So,
okay.
Then I think a little SEC respect right there.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt at Georgia. What do you got for that?
Vanderbilt at Georgia. We'll go Georgia minus 30.
37.
Oh, okay.
How about Auburn at Ole Miss?
Auburn, Ole Miss. Ole Miss minus 11.
14. Not pretty close.
Okay.
Now, this could be a really, really great game. Let's hope Will Levis is back. Mississippi State at Kentucky. What thoughts on that?
Oh, what a fun game that will be. Give me Mississippi State minus 4.
Ooh, almost nailed it. 3 in favor of the Bulldogs. And then this, I don't know how you put a line on this one. LSU at Florida. What do you think on that one?
Pick them. You just don't put a line on it.
Florida favored by 3. I think I'd jump on
Okay.
that if I'm an LSU guy.
Yeah, that thing's going to move around.
Now, last one, Shane. Game of the week. Undefeated Alabama. Undefeated Tennessee. Opening line.
Tennessee minus 20. Just kidding. Just kidding. Alabama, I don't know, minus 10.
Opened at 8. It's already down to 7 though,
okay.
and I think it's 7, 7.5, depending on where you look. So, man, I cannot remember the last time it was not a double-digit favorite. I mean, it's probably been 20 years. You know what?
Absolutely. Game day's coming back. SEC's going to be there. I mean, it's going to be a full house. Probably going to check that damn thing again. We've already wore the gray jerseys, but as long as we got a pretty day, man, it's going to be an absolute unreal environment. So I like that. Keep it within a score. That's great news, Mike.
Yeah, and man, just what a great weekend of SEC action. But you got any thoughts before we jump off here?
No, man. I think again we went into here with 7 SEC versus SEC opponents. We knew this was going to be a great weekend, and it did not disappoint, man.
Yeah.
Now there's some of you. When there's 7 winners, there's 7 losers. So I understand you guys are going through some stuff, but again, we're building off of. We got a great week to kind of bounce back, and who knows, man, we may see a couple upsets this weekend. I'm feeling it, man.
I know what game you're looking at too. So, hey, we'll have all week to break that down. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. Man, we're just getting started here with conference play heating up. You know what?
Absolutely, man.
But all right, hey, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.